Morning, everyone. Oh, hi, how you doing? I know you guys had a really good night and you're really hungover, but I'm here, so therefore you got to listen to me. And I'm going to start with an apology because quite a few of you are going to start feeling a little bit old. There's nothing I can do about that. It's just life. We can embrace age as much as we want, but it will happen to us. So yeah, let's get going. My name is Jenny. I am a web developer, not a HR person, not a marketing person. I do code. Let's just get this out there right now. And I like wearing dresses a lot. So, why is it that I'm about to make a lot of you feel rather old? It's because when my clicker works, hang on, turn it on. 5 years ago, I was a second-year student at university. It was the very first time I learned PHP 5 years ago. It was a module on server-side programming, and the lecturer thought, hey, we're going to use PHP. And in fact, he's one of the co-organizers of PHP Northwest. So in his awesome wisdom, he would encourage us as students to go and embrace the local community. And as good old students, we thought, he's so boring. And he knew this, and he was persistent. Poor guy, so persistent. And one day, I was so sick of him, I said, look, if I go to this user group, will you please just shut up about it? Will you just leave us alone? We're just students. We just want to pass our degree and go home. And he agreed to this. This crazy person agreed to this. So yeah, I took one for the team. I went to this user group, PHP Northwest. I kept on going. It was the encouragement of that lecturer that actually made me go there. At that user group, I asked my first question. They were discussing about arrays, talking about array pops and array push. And I remember putting my hand up and going, why are you talking about array pushing and popping? Why is it not pushing and pulling? I mean, you push and pull doors, so why don't you push and pull arrays? The room went silent, deadly silent. And as a student, I was like, what have I done? Have I broken something? And the reality of it was, I just questioned something because I had no conceptions or preconceptions of what programming was. Later that year, I volunteered for PHP Northwest 2010. Second year uni, they always tell you, go and find an internship. You need to get some work experience. Typical student, didn't do it. So come to the summer, I was like, hey, I've got nothing to do. I'm bored. I'll volunteer for the local user group, for the conference. And in the process, I got myself an internship. Yes! The conference that year was amazing. I've met loads of people there, loads of people that I actually see in the audience today, so hello. And then 2011 turned up. As part of my internship, I was tasked with migrating all the PHP Northwest conference websites and upgrade them. They were all built on WordPress. WordPress 3.0 had just turned up, and it meant that they had a new feature, WordPress multi-sites. It meant that you could have all your WordPress projects on one installation of WordPress. So I took it upon myself to migrate all the PHP Northwest conference websites into one installation. Because of this, because of a PHP conference website, I ended up working on WordPress. 2012, it's the year that I became the first person in my family to graduate. It was a super proud moment. It's also the year that I went to my first WordCamp in Edinburgh. Now, if you don't know what a WordCamp is, it's a conference of sorts for WordPress people, users all the way to developers. And being in Edinburgh, there was a Scotsman there who taught a group of attendees about all the whiskies available in Scotland, and I got a little drunk. In this happy state that I was, I went up to Mike Nittle. How many people here know who Mike Nittle is? Only a few of you. Mike Nittle is a British developer. He's also the co-founder of WordPress. He lives up north, and he runs the Manchester WordPress user group. And there's me, just graduated, telling Mike, I love user groups, Mike, but your user group's too user-centric. It's like going back to work after finishing work and talking to clients again. I don't want to do that. And between a load of drinks and a lot of talking, we came up with a solution. And in fact, that solution is still in place today. Time ticked on, and 2013 turned up on my doorstep. It turned out to be the hardest year in my career. 2013 became the year that I nearly quit. It became the year I nearly quit because I was at work, and let me just be clear about this. This is nothing to do with my company I was working for or the people I was working with. It was one individual, and whatever they did was wrong, just plain wrong. They were having a hard time at home in their own life, and then decided that I was a suitable vocal punch bag. In fact, if it wasn't for the amazing people that I met in the PHP women group, I would not be in this industry at all to this day. I would not be in front of you today. One message of despair after another, thinking it was my own fault. This person was shouting at me, yelling at me across the office in front of the rest of my co-workers. It was heartbreaking. The people in the PHP Women IRC channel slowly helped me walk away from quitting. And for that, for all you people out there, thank you. In 2014, a year ago, in fact, 6 months ago, I left my hometown. As you've probably guessed, I'm a Mancunian, born and bred, and super proud of it. So when I left my hometown, moved 200 miles down south to a place where the water tastes really weird. And there's no local PHP user groups because I actually don't live in the Greater London area. I live like in one of those commuter towns. I realized a few things. And this is why I've told you about the last 5 years. It's those few things that I've realized that I want to share with you today. I, Jenny Wong, I'm a community addict. Hi. I didn't realize how much of a community addict I was until I was moving down south and unhooking all my lanyards, which I now have stuck on my wall in my office. There's a lot. In fact, I'm not just a community addict of conferences and events. I love user groups. And the great thing about living in Manchester was there was practically a user group every other night. So I was never home. It was amazing. For the last 5 years, at every step in my career, from the very beginning when I was learning PHP to where I am now, there's been a user group. Whether that was PHP Northwest, the Manchester WordPress user group, PHP Women for the support, or PHP London, where I now call home. They've all been there for me. And this is why I'm so passionate about communities. I've already taken so much from the community, and I want to give something back. I want to enable the next developer, the next new person, the new people who are in this room today, to have the same, if not better experience than the support that I got when I started. And over this time, I have met people both in the PHP and the WordPress community. Now, when I'm in the WordPress community, people come up to me and go, "Oh, Jenny, you're that PHP guru, right?" And I go, "No, no, 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 no. You have no idea how hard PHP is." They ask me a lot, "How did you get started with PHP? Where did you learn from? What resources did you use?" And I always tell them, I went to my local PHP user group. I went to PHP Northwest, I ask questions. And the response I always get is, oh, isn't that scary? Don't they laugh at you for doing WordPress? Isn't it really hard? Doesn't everything just go over your head? And the answer to the very last question is yes. When I first went to conferences, I used to have to take painkillers with me because my head hurt so much. So much information. But when I'm in the PHP community, the community that I first started in, I hear this a lot. Oh, you work in WordPress? Ah, painful, man. It's so rubbish, so insecure. You won't even drop the 5.2 minimum support thing. You won't break backwards compatibility. And when I try and explain, hey, if it was up to me, I would drop 5.4, never mind 5.2. If it was up to me, yeah, maybe I would do stuff differently, but it's not up to me. Ultimately, WordPress is a 12-year-old user-centric project by choice. And the reason behind that is because, let's face it, if there's a problem with the software, it's going to be developers who are going to solve the problem. Now, a lot of you don't know who I am or my background, but for a number of those years, I ended up becoming an organizer of PHP Northwest. I was that much of an addict, they figured, hey, we might as well make her an organizer. So when I went around the WordPress community, and when I met people who were WordPress developers, who were actually really PHP developers, I would invite them to my conference, to my user group, and say, hey, if you're ever in the city, if you ever want to come along, feel free. This is when it happens. And I would always get that face of, oh, I'm not sure. The WordPress developers' concerns would include stuff like being mocked by PHP developers, being PHP developers being rude to them, being mean to them. They were scared of us. And I would tell them, hey, I know this community. They're the nicest bunch in the world. They love having a good fun. They're the same as the WordPress community in reality. And to kind of put the cherry on the big, massive cake I was trying to give them, I would say, if anything did happen, then please come and see me. I will personally handle it. So when last year, at my own conference, a speaker got on stage and spoke about a lot of open source projects. But when they mentioned WordPress, the room roared with laughter, and my heart sank. For those WordPress developers that I had personally invited to the conference, I felt guilty. My conference, the community that I trusted, just proved all their fears right. WordPress just got laughed at. And the reality of it is, the mocking of WordPress by PHP is like watching my parents have a fight every day. I don't know why everyone laughed at WordPress. But what I do know is that as somebody whose first invite to the PHP community was from a WordPress developer, from a PHP developer, from someone who had given their trust away, it made them feel uncomfortable. It made me feel uncomfortable. And I'd been in this community for years. They had taken a chance with us. We had abused their trust. How would you feel if you went to an event just to be laughed at for the technology choices you made? And we can take this one step further. Look at the bigger picture. The mocking of any technology by anyone is like watching my parents having a fight every day. Now, I know you guys don't know my parents, but I'm sure you know what it's like to watch your parents as children having arguments. It's not pretty. It's bloody. It's messy. And ultimately, nobody wins. It's a broken home. If we think about it, we can pick any technology, any language, and point a flaw at it. If we can even look at the English language, there are loads of flaws in it. The way we interact with each other, the way we shout at our peers, have fights, digitally, physically, talk over each other, talk for each other. It doesn't help our community. It doesn't help us as developers grow. Where have our manners and our respect gone for one another? How many people here have complained about being overworked? How many? Put your hand up. Wow, for the people who haven't put their hand up, can I have your job, please? How many people here have felt guilty for going on holiday because you knew by taking time off, there was less people at work, one less pair of hands to help out? We are a community of people. And in an industry where there are not enough developers, where burnout is almost the standard when it shouldn't be, and mental health is a major issue, why is it that we spend so much time belittling a subset of developers that we do have? Maybe some of those people are not yet currently good developers, but good is relative. If you don't help them, how are they ever meant to become great? In an industry that's constantly changing, I swear I go to sleep, wake up, and something new comes out. Oh, hang on, isn't there a new version of PHP out today? I'm sure we've all written bad code before. And in fact, if we really think about it, I'm sure some of us are still doing it. I am just one person on a stage. But together, we can change this. I'm sure of it, and I'm going to believe it until someone tells me otherwise. If we all choose to improve our tiny corner, our little tiny corner, what difference would that make together? It's not easy changing people's perspective. Trust me, I know. Telling people that WordPress is not so bad is a really hard job. But if we are willing to waste our time complaining about something, then what would happen if we spent all that time and energy supporting the growth and learning process of other people, of the next generation of developers that walk into our community, of the developers, of the new developers who are here today? This is a big problem, a huge problem. And there is no silver bullet. I looked for it, and I couldn't find it. So if anyone finds it, let me know, because I'll be interested. But I believe that multi-dimensional problems need a multi-dimensional solutions. So let's have a look at some. Events. There's WordCamps, Drupal camps, bar camps. Conferences like the one we're in today. More regular events like user groups and meetups. Can we please avoid putting them on the same date? How many times have we gone, oh yeah, when I got to that one, oh, no, I'm going, I give up. There was a project called Open Tech Calendar. Pretty cool project, where you can all put your dates in. I'm not saying it's the perfect solution to the problem, but it's a start. And if we can find a better solution, please share. Inclusiveness. Why don't we invite everybody to the party? How many people had a good time last night? Yeah, quite a few of you. Apparently, some of you didn't put your hand up, so I'm sorry if you didn't have a good time, but I did. There's a lot of people here today who came alone. They're the bravest people in this room right now, even braver than me, because I have a team of people with me. They are here for the first time. They might not know anyone. How many of you have gone outside your little groups, your company groups, and said hello to the people that you're sat around? You're probably sat next to somebody you know, but what about the people in front of you, the people behind you? Let's include everyone in the conversation. For the Christmas party of PHP London, they invited Women Who Code London to their Christmas party. It was super cool. It was a really informal event at a pub with food and a cake, because obviously you need cake. And it enabled everyone to get to know each other. I met PHP developers there, WordPress developers there, .NET developers. And what I found out was that even though they were in this Women Who Code group, they didn't ever know about the PHP user group, or the WordPress user group, or the .NET user group. By inviting someone from outside our community in, you are making the first step. You're saying to them, hey, why don't you come along? You're welcome. And if this month they say, oh no, I'm busy, I don't want to come, try again next month. Keep the invitation open. Maybe they were just busy. Now let's look at the words we choose to use. Words are one of the most powerful tools we have, way more powerful than source control or any other tool that we use in our daily lives. And let's think about it. Think about the words we choose to use when we communicate with each other online and in reality. When someone at the pre-conference social for this conference asked me if I was gate crashing the social, it made me feel like, what? Am I not welcomed here? Am I not meant to be here? And it took me a second. I'm keynoting, of course I'm meant to be here. We never know what state of mind the people around us are in. We have no control of that. But what we do have control of is the words we choose to use. Drupal, they did a really cool thing in 2013. They did an initiative called Getting Off the Island. Now, for the people who don't know what it was a rally cry from inside Drupal where they said, hey, we have an amazing community here, and we love you all. But what would happen if we spread our wings a little bit, got off what they called the Drupal Island, and went further afield? In fact, when I was in WordCamp San Francisco, I met Drupal developers there. They were there to see how we worked internally as well as externally. They were there at the community summits that we hold every year. Diversity. Now, I know Joanna has talked about the diversity of this conference, but let's look at it from a wider perspective. If we, as a community, are serious about wanting to improve the diversity of this or any other community, then it has to be part of the plan, not an afterthought. And this is about diversity of technologies, of tool choices, of operating systems. Just because someone uses Microsoft and Dreamweaver doesn't mean you get to laugh at them. Gender, race, background. Whether you are a cyborg or a human, just include all people. And that way, you won't miss anyone out. I've mentioned this before. People want to learn PHP. They know there is value in it. So why don't we help teach them, help support them? Let's set the example of how we want our community to behave. Let's go to their user groups and invite them in. Or let's go to their user groups and do a talk on PHP basics. What is arrays? Can someone tell me that? Let them know about PHP mentoring. Let them know about PHP the right way. Let them know about all those resources that have gotten you to this room today. And if you want to learn something new, then please speak up. Ask your local user group to find someone with that knowledge internally in your current community or externally from another community. Ask them to share that knowledge with you, with the rest of your community. Or you could decide that thing that you want to learn, go to that community's user groups, meetups. You make the move. And if you don't have a local user group, just start one. And now this is the most important thing. This is something that we can all do today. It's all about attitude, the way we welcome people into our group. If we can be a bit nicer to each other, say hi to a new person, they'll want to come back. They'll go out and tell people about how amazing this PHP conference was. Don't belittle people. It's a really hard thing. We already think we don't know enough all the time. So why is it that we need to put ourselves down even more? Let's leave that door open. Keep that invite an open invitation with no expiry date. Let's educate them to what is right, what is wrong, or what your opinion is. Let's support them on their journey, the same way all those user groups before me have supported me. Let's mentor them. Tell them that it's okay. Be cheerleaders. When was the last time you said, that's cool? It's cool that you tried. Doesn't matter that you got it wrong. And be respectful of each other. Having different opinions is what makes this industry really interesting. Listening to people's stories and experiences, it all makes the person and your opinions count. But when we're having discussions, we don't need to turn them into flame wars. And we don't need to make everyone's blood boil. We have the right to air all our opinions. And if we hear something that we disagree on, it's absolutely fine to say, I disagree, but I respect that's your opinion. By being respectful, it does not mean you have to agree with everything that somebody says. Be empathetic. It's one thing to listen to someone. It's another thing to put yourself in their shoes. And let's guide them. Guide them to the resources that we already know. We might think that it's really obvious, but they come from a different background. They have a different history. And if you're doing this already, then that's amazing. Please let me know about it. Let's share our stories. And let's remember, yes, there are barriers between communities at the moment, but we can build bridges together. This will not be fixed overnight, but brick by brick, we can start a two-way dialogue. We can start a two-way dialogue with our sister communities. And we can share that knowledge, that experience, and that wisdom that we all have within inside us. We can improve this one step at a time. Multi-dimensional problems need a multi-dimensional solutions. So I'm asking you, what solution do you have? Thank you.